Siege can also be a brutal game at times, especially if you're a new player and even experienced players, but in this video I'm going to focus on the new players to Rainbow Six Siege. So I'm going to show you everything you need to get started in 2025. I'm going to go over settings, operators, maps, and basically just how to stop dying instantly. There's so much I'm going to go over in this video. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet, so let's jump straight into the settings. So here are all of the settings that you need to go over. Let's start over in the general tab. So the main thing that you need to change in the general part is if you go to stun FX, there's this basically there's a white glare and a dark glare. When you get flashbanged, you can either have a bright white screen or a dark screen. Some people prefer a dark screen, but I prefer a white screen. It's personal preference. The second one is tinnitus SFX, and this is basically every time you get a stun grenade, it makes that big ringing sound. If you turn it over to wave, it's not as strong as a sound, so it sort of makes it a lot easier to hear enemies' footsteps or gunshots. The third one on this tab that you need to change is diffuser pickup. Please put this on both. Do not have this on automatic or manual. Both basically makes it so if you walk over the diffuser, it automatically picks it up for you, and you can also manually if you need to. So if you're stood near the diffuser, you just want to grab it, you can just stand near it and hold X to pick it up. So the next adjustment you want is drone after prep. You want this on manual. This basically makes it so you don't get thrown automatically off your drone. You have to manually press, I don't know what it is on keyboard, but I know on Xbox I think it's B or down on the D-pad. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. It basically, after the time goes down, it doesn't automatically throw you off and you get your drone destroyed. You can hide it and manually switch. The next thing I want to go over is HUD. A lot of people either have it on normal or minimal, but I like to put it over on custom. And you can basically go through all the settings. You want to keep your HUD as minimal as possible. You don't want to have lots on your screen, so try and take off little things that aren't very necessary. It's all personal preferences, so go maybe in the shooting range or something, have a look around and see what you like on or off. So have a mess around with that. The next thing is audio, probably the most important thing of the game. First thing, obviously the tinnitus SFX, went over this, keep that on wave. These are all the settings that I run. Game sound is literally overpowered in this game. You have to use a headset. Don't be using no TV audio or speaker audio. Use a headset. You can't play this game unless you have a headset. It makes it so difficult, and game sound is, again, the most overpowered thing in this game. You have to learn game sound, otherwise you will not develop and get better at this game. So these are the audio sounds that I use. If you want to copy these, go ahead. But again, I would recommend going in the shooting range and practicing and messing around with your settings. Display, you want your FOV on 90, and graphics mode I have on performance. As we go over to the controller tab, I have vibrations off. I don't like it on. I feel like it just throws my aim off a little bit. The next thing is gadget deployment. You want this on advanced. Don't have it on standard. Have it on advanced. You want to manually place it down so you're not stuck in that animation. Drone deployment advanced, I think we've gone over that. Leaning behavior. Now, I have this on alternate, so it keeps you leaning even if you're hip firing. This is a new feature that's added fairly recent to Siege, but I always keep that on. Controller rotation. I always have this on classic. I don't like updated. A lot of people like updated, but I just like it on classic. So the next most important thing is sensitivity. This is probably one of the most important settings that you need to know. You need to experiment and learn your own sensitivity. Everybody's different. Nobody has the right sensitivity. Everybody's different. But this is what I like to run. If you want to copy this, go ahead. But I would recommend going in the shooting range and trialing this out. I do have a video on how to find the perfect sensitivity for yourself. So I might leave a tab on the screen now if you want to go check that out. But yeah, the best thing to do is just have a mess around with the shooting range. The dead zones, I have at 3. This is all again down to your controller. If you've got stick drift, bump it up to maybe 4 or 5. But I like it on 3. Dead zone for the trigger, you want 0. Controller ADS, this is what I run. Again, this is all personal preference. If you want to copy this, go ahead. Another little tip that I've learned is if you go to advanced controller options, put this on enabled and bump everything down to 0. And then go back to disabled. For some reason, it makes my sensitivity a lot smoother and a lot more accurate to when I'm turning. I feel like this is a bit of a bug in Siege, but do try it out and let me know if this is a similar thing with you, or whether it's just a placebo effect. I don't know, but it seems to work with me. Accessibility. Now, this is again personal preference. Optic color. I like to go with purple, but the main ones you want to go for are bright colors that stand out. Sorry, you don't want anything that sort of matches the atmosphere in the game. So you want either like a purple or maybe a red or like a bright green or a blue. Those are the main colors that you want to use. You don't want to go for like white or maybe, you know, I don't really like black either. That sort of matches in with the background. Screen shake, you do not want that on. And motion blur off. Where is it? Ah, here we go. You want to, when you're on display as well, I completely went over this. You want VSync off. You do not want this on. It will basically give you a better reactivity, and it just makes the game performance a lot better. So make sure to have that off. So moving on to operators. This is another very important topic that a lot of people don't think about when starting the game. I would recommend picking 3 attackers and 3 defenders that you absolutely stick to. You need to use these 3 operators and absolutely master them. The main reason for this is you want to learn the recoil patterns and how to use their gadget effectively, because there's so many different ways to use a single operator. It's just the best way of learning is to stick into 3. So I'm going to give you 3 for attacking and 3 for defending if you're a new player. So the reason I pick Ash is the R4C is actually a really good gun. It doesn't have a huge amount of recoil and it's quite easy to control. It's got good damage and it's just a really good gun. And she's got a breaching round. This gadget basically just blows open soft breaching walls, barricades. It's just a very simple gadget to learn and understand. And she's an overall good operator. The next one I would also recommend is Thatcher. Now Thatcher is honestly probably the most helpful operator. If you're bad at the game and you're new, Thatcher is going to help your team out massively. He has EMP grenades. This stops any sort of electronics, so you're able to counter Cades, bandits, Capcans, anything, absolutely anything and everything electrical. So he counters most of the operators in the game. And he's got the L85A2. This gun is really good. And probably a lot of people overlook how good this gun is. It's got no recoil whatsoever and it's got really good damage. It's just a very simple operator to use, and it's a good way to learn the maps and where people are sitting. The third operator that I would recommend is probably going to be a bit more of an expensive operator to buy, but it will be very useful, is Ace. Now, I would pick Ace once you played the game for like a month or 2. Once you start picking it up a bit more, I would purchase Ace and start using him, just because the AK-12, as you can see here, is the best gun in the game, hands down. This gun is insanely accurate and it's got great damage. It's my favourite gun, and I guarantee you 90% of Siege players will say this gun is the best gun in the game. It's actually unreal. These Selma charges are insane. He's the best hard breacher just because of his gadget. They're so quick and easy to deploy down, and it just makes hard breaching so much easier. So that's why I would recommend them 3 for attacking. But moving on to the defenders, the ones I would recommend is, the first one is either Doc or Rook. If you're very new to the game, I would recommend Rook. If you've just started, then I'd probably go for Doc. But if you're honestly a full-on beginner, stick with Rook for a little while. He puts down armor packs, which helps out every single one of your teammates and gives them that little bit more health. And he's got the MP5 and the P90. I wouldn't recommend using the P90 if you're starting out. I'd stick with the MP5 just because it has that lower recoil. The P90 does have quite difficult recoil to control, but it is a better gun once you get good with it, just because of its ammo size. But stick to the MP5 for now, and stick with the easy gadget of the armor pack. The second operator I'll be looking at is Jaeger. Once you get good with Rook, purchase Jaeger. This carbine is actually insane. I would say this is probably one of the best defender guns at the moment. Just because they've all been ripped away from their ACOGs, I'd say this is now the best defender gun. A lot of people might disagree with me, but honestly, I think it is now. It's got really good fire rate, good damage, and it's really accurate. And his gadget is very useful as well. All it is basically like a trophy system, and it just counters any sort of flashbangs, grenades, any sort of throwable, or even ash charges. It stops absolutely anything and anything that's being fired or thrown. You get 3 of them to place around the map. It's just quick and easy to put down your gadgets, and it's a very simple operator to use. The third one I'd recommend, if once you get a bit more renown, is Legion. Legion, this T5 SMG, I cannot tell you how good it is. It is so accurate. It's got a bit of a lower magazine, so you have to learn to hit your shots, and it's got a bit lower damage, so you have to aim for headshots. But this gun tears people apart. It's so good. Once you get good at the game, you'll understand how good Legion is. They did try and nerf him by taking away his shotgun, but he's still an amazing operator. And for his gadget, he's got these goo mines, which basically just throw on the floor, and when players run over them, they take a bit of damage. So it's an easy way to injure enemies and basically just slow down the opposition coming towards the objective. Moving on to map basics. I know a lot of people do struggle with the maps when they're starting out, as they are very big and quite complicated, and there's a lot of them. First thing I'm going to say is don't worry or stress about learning exactly where you need to go on the maps just yet. You'll learn that just by playing the game. Don't stress over it. I understand new players do not know where they're going half the time. I get it, you know. We've all been there as a new player. So the main thing that I want to teach you, as a new player is learning certain callouts. That's probably one of the most important things to learn, especially as a new player, to help your teammates out. So if you look at the bottom of my screen now, it tells you exactly where the room is. So now it's saying CCTV room, and if we move into here, it'll say server room. If we move over to here, it'll say, you know, the tunnel. So this is a great way to give callouts for your teammates and know exactly where the enemies are. So if you see an enemy all the way down there, even if you're on your drones, let me just show you. It even tells you when you're on the drone. If you jump in here, it tells you tunnel. So you tell your teammates, you know, there's 2 enemies in the tunnel. There's a couple in server room. And this way, it just helps out your teammate that little bit more. This game isn't all about getting kills, you know. It's not Call of Duty. It's all about tactics and helping your team out and working as a team. That way, you will win more games. Like, for instance, there's some great competitive players that are pro, and they don't get a whole lot of kills just because they work really well with their teammates. That's a quick run over for callouts. The second thing I want to go over is choke points and learning exactly where enemies are going to come from. So if you're defending this bomb site in the basement or lockers in here, the main thing you need to learn is where common areas are that the enemy is going to come from. So for instance, if you're in CCTV room, a lot of people will come from this tunnel here. So a choke point would be maybe if you're stood back here and you're holding an angle and waiting for them to come through. It makes it very difficult for the enemies to push. So you could either be sat there, or you could be sat all the way back here in server room just waiting for them to push, or you could be maybe sat back here waiting for them to push. There's so many different ways of holding certain choke points. For instance, in the garage, a lot of people do come from garage as well. It's just learning different angles and where to stand waiting for players. Again, I'll give you another little tip. If you're holding an angle like this, you do not want to be up close like this, because they will see your head and you won't see them. You want to stand back. As I stand back, you'll see you see more. So make sure you stand back from angles and you're not up close like this. Like if I get my drone here, I now cannot see my drone, but I guarantee you my drone can see me. You see? I can't see my drone, but it can see me. But if I stand back like this, I can now see my drone, and it can just see a slight bit of me. The next step I will say is with drones. If you're droning, you do not just want to run straight in here and go like that and go, yep, that's my droning done, there's nobody here. Because reality is, there's probably someone hiding in here, or there's somebody hiding around this corner. When you're droning, don't rush it, okay? If you come in here, you want to jump up, check the corners, check round here. You know, you want to jump around, look around, check all the corners, check the stairs, check behind you, and then move into this room when you're droning. And then you know that room is clear, okay? Because there's many a times you'll have somebody maybe sat here and you haven't actually fully droned the room and you've just gone straight past them. They've heard you push, you're then going to hold an angle here, and they're going to swing you and get the kill. Make sure you're using your drones effectively, as they are very, very overpowered. It's basically 2 free lives that you got in your pocket, so make sure to use your drones and use them effectively. The next thing that I want to move on to is basically gameplay and mindset and how to play Siege effectively. The number one recommendation I'd see a lot of new players do is rushing straight into the building, you know? They're going to run straight in, go straight to site, and get killed straight away. Now, don't get me wrong, rushing does work a couple of times. It's very, very rare it works, and it does catch a couple of people off guard. But if you keep doing it, a lot of players... Oh, the canister just went off. A lot of players are going to know you're rushing the next round. So if you run in here, they're going to know you're going to drop this hatch. So you might have somebody stood all the way back here waiting for you to drop, and you're going to be dead. Slow the gameplay down, and make sure to check everywhere, because this game isn't about speed, it's about being patient and outplaying the enemy, okay? That's the number one tip. Just slow down and take your time. There's no rush in this game. Unless you're on the last few seconds and you need to defuse the bomb or whatever, then speed the hell up. Other than that, slow down that little bit. The next thing I want to talk about is sound and understanding different sound cues. So the sounds are completely changed in Siege now, so understanding what people are walking on, you can hear this is a harder floor, you can hear when it's carpet, back to hard floor, carpet, so on and so forth. There's so many different sounds in this game, and understanding when somebody drops a hatch as well. It's a very, very unique sound, and once you play Siege a bit, you'll understand. It's just this. That sound there, that's when you know somebody has dropped and you can swing. Just little sounds that you got to pick up in Siege. As you play more, you will learn and pick up on sounds. The next tip I would say, I know this is a bit rich coming from me, but make sure to play with teammates. This is the best way to rank up and get better at the game. If you play with teammates and you can work with them and give call outs, it's the quickest and best way to rank up. If you play solo, it makes it so much harder to play. I know a lot of people do struggle to find teammates to stack up with on Siege, so I do have a Discord channel if you are interested in joining. I do have a lot of people in there. There's console players, PC players, whatever, so just drop a little message on my Discord and I'm sure people will join you and play some games with you. The next tip is, I'll say, you need to start playing unranked before jumping straight into ranked. I understand a lot of people want to jump straight into ranked as a new player and try and rank up, but if you just stick to unranked for a little bit, it takes a little bit of pressure off you so you can learn and understand the game a bit better. There's no pressure and you don't lose your temper like I do. I get mad at the game. Everybody gets mad at the game, so just try and play a bit of unranked for a bit. You don't have to jump straight into ranked. Just take your time with it. So I'm going to wrap the video up here. If you're a new Siege player, make sure to go check out my operator tier list. That'll be coming out next week. This is going to save you hours of trial and error. I'm going to go through each and every single attacker and operator and go through all the pros and cons. I'm going to rank them all the way at the top to the very best, all the way to the bottom as the very worst. So make sure not to miss that next week. But if you have enjoyed this video or it's helped you in any sort of way, make sure to drop me a comment down below. And if you've got any questions, do let me know and I'll make sure to answer them in my next video. Other than that, I'm going to wrap the video up here. Hope you have enjoyed. Do drop me a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.